Mark had been photographing the African savanna for 15 years. He had seen lions hunt in perfect silence. Elephants mourn their dead. Cheetahs collapse after a sprint that decided life or death. He believed there was nothing left that could truly shock him. Until that afternoon. Under the harsh midday sun, Mark rested in the shade of an acacia tree, scanning the horizon through his lens. The land shimmered with heat. The savanna was quiet. Then something moved. About 200 meters away, a shape staggered through the bushes. Mark lifted his camera and zoomed in. His breath stopped. A young male lion emerged into view, but it barely looked alive. Its body was painfully thin. Its movements were slow, unbalanced, and wrapped tightly around its torso was a thick, rusted steel loop, biting deep into flesh and bone. For a moment, Mark thought his eyes were deceiving him. They weren't. The lion took a few steps forward, then collapsed. Its chest rose and fell in shallow, desperate breaths. Every inhale scraped against metal. This wasn't a predator. This was a survivor, hanging on by instinct alone. Mark approached carefully, every step measured. The closer he got, the worse it became. The steel snare was old, corroded, eaten by rust. Fur around it was gone. The skin underneath was crushed and darkened. The lion didn't growl. It didn't threaten him. It simply looked up. Its eyes weren't filled with fear or aggression. They were empty, tired, almost pleading. Mark knelt a few meters away. "How did this happen?" he whispered. 2 years earlier, this same lion had been very different. Back then, the savanna had glowed gold under the afternoon sun. A group of young lions played near their pride, chasing each other through tall grass. Among the bushes, hidden by humans and forgotten by time, lay an illegal steel snare. It was meant for prey, but humans never came back. When the young lion passed through the brush, the steel loop snapped shut around his torso in an instant. The sound was sharp, final. The cub screamed, a raw, panicked cry that echoed across the plains. His mother came running. She bit the metal, clawed at it, pulled with all her strength. Other lionesses joined her. The snare didn't move. Steel doesn't feel mercy. As night fell, the pride stayed with him. His mother didn't leave his side. But when dawn came, reality became unavoidable. The loop would not break. And the cub kept growing. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The lion's body expanded, but the steel did not. Every breath pressed his ribs harder against the metal. Bones curved inward. His spine slowly deformed. Running became impossible. Hunting became a dream he could no longer reach. When the pride hunted, he slowed them down. He became a weakness. Eventually, the dominant male made a decision. With violent roars, he drove the young lion away. The pride began to move on. The mother stepped in front of her son, baring her teeth, but even a mother's courage has limits. She stepped back. Then again, the pride left. The young lion watched them disappear into the distance. His mother looked back until the very last moment. Then she followed. If she stayed, both of them would die. From that day on, survival became torture. Alone, the lion scavenged what he could. Leftovers abandoned by hyenas, bones stripped of meat by vultures. The steel snare filled with dirt, mud, and debris. It grew heavier. Sleeping became painful. The metal lifted his torso off the ground, forcing his neck into unnatural angles. Infections set in. Every breath burned. Death came close many times, but instinct refused to let him die. 2 years passed like this, until Mark found him. Back in the present, Mark slowly removed a water bottle from his backpack. He poured water onto the ground. The lion tried to lower its head, but the steel restricted its movement. Mark cupped water in his hands and held it to the lion's mouth. The lion barely moved its tongue. Mark made an emergency call using his satellite phone. Coordinates were transmitted. "It will take at least an hour," the voice replied. Mark looked at the lion's chest, struggling for air. "Please, hurry," he said. "I don't think he has much time." They waited. 30 minutes passed. Then Mark heard it, a sound carried by the wind. Hyenas. A dozen of them emerged from the distance, noses low, eyes locked on the weakened lion. They could smell death. The circle began to close. Mark looked around. There was nowhere to run. Leaving meant certain death for the lion. Staying meant risking his own life. Then he remembered his drone. With shaking hands, he launched it into the air. The sudden noise confused the hyenas. He flew it low, aggressively, forcing them back. Then he triggered the emergency flare. Red smoke burst across the savanna. One hyena screamed as the flare struck nearby. The group scattered, startled and angry. But they didn't leave. They waited. Finally, a cloud of dust rose on the horizon. The rescue team arrived. Dr. Sarah, a veteran wildlife veterinarian, assessed the lion immediately. His heart rate was dangerously weak. His body temperature was low. Blood tests showed severe dehydration, infection, and malnutrition. Strong sedatives could stop his heart. There was only one option: minimal sedation. The lion would stay mostly awake. The steel snare was heavy. Years of dirt and rust packed inside. The team removed debris piece by piece. It still wouldn't move. Cutting was the only choice. But steel that close to ribs meant one wrong movement could kill him. Someone had to hold the lion still. Mark stepped forward. He wrapped his arms around the lion's head and chest, holding him gently but firmly. "I've got him," Mark said. The cutter screamed to life. Sparks flew as metal met blade. The lion thrashed, terrified. His claws tore into Mark's arm, drawing blood. Mark didn't let go. Minutes stretched into eternity. Finally, the steel snapped apart. The snare fell to the ground. For the first time in 2 years, the lion inhaled fully. Treatment began immediately. Antibiotics, fluids, wound care. Slowly, life returned to his eyes. The lion tried to stand. He fell. Tried again. Fell again. On the third attempt, he stood. Shaking. Weak, but free. Then another sound echoed across the plains. A roar. Deeper, stronger. From behind a rocky outcrop, a lioness emerged. The hyenas froze. She charged without hesitation, scattering them instantly. One strike sent a hyena tumbling. The rest fled into the distance. Silence returned. The lioness turned. She stared at the young male. They locked eyes. Slowly, she approached. She sniffed his face, his neck, his wounded torso. Then she licked him gently. It was his mother. Mark later reviewed his photos. Over the past 2 years, the same lioness appeared again and again in the background of his shots. She had never left the area. She had been watching from afar the entire time. The young lion stood beside her, weak but alive. Together, they walked across the savanna. When he stumbled, she stopped. They disappeared over the hill, side by side. Mark lowered his camera. Some moments are not meant to be captured. They are meant to be respected. A mother's love endured hunger, exile, and time itself, and in the end, it brought her son back.